Welcome back, my friends, and as Tocker's Trials is going to be going away this week, and I don't know if, when, anything like it will come back, I wanted to give some thoughts on it. I also, in the background, am going to show the build that if you haven't beaten Chaos Mode yet, or even Normal Mode, this is the easiest build. It's going to be going by pretty fast, because I'm just going to speed it straight up to match with whatever I end up babbling out here. When they first mentioned there was going to be a PvE mode in TFT, I was pretty excited about it. I thought it would be a roguelike game, and my kids still sort of insist that this is a roguelike game, but I disagree because there is no randomness in the order of the events, and that is what I think is one of the biggest downfalls it has. But I want to start with the positives of this mode. Even though there is still some element of luck involved, I felt like this mode took a lot of the RNG out of TFT that had been ruining regular TFT for me. It was much more about the strategy in building a team, and you got to really think about it, put it together, check out items, and put everything exactly where you want to before hitting fight. So you could really plan out a strategy, you could test different builds, and I've seen a lot of comments in my videos on builds on this mode where people talked about that this has helped them learn TFT because they had a mode like this. So I really hope that Riot keeps that in mind as they go forward, that a mode like this allows people to learn it a lot better than it does in the steep learning curve you face going into either norms, ranked, or hyper role, which are all going to require sort of fast decision making. And if you don't know the champs, you don't know the traits, you don't know the items, that's going to be really hard to do. And by the way, if you haven't figured it out yet, the build I'm using here is the Warwick Vanguard build. It's just the easiest one to pretty much guarantee you're going to get a victory, and it's not a guarantee. There are things that can go wrong based on luck. Like I said, it's almost impossible to take luck out of it, but you can strategize much more in a PvE mode like this, and that brings back the feeling to me of original TFT, where even though you were under time constraints and all that usual stuff, you didn't have quite as many random factors that could pop in. What I also liked about it is that this, in some ways, depending on what build you used, tested a lot of your skills in terms of your positioning and being able to pick augments that best fit the team you were building, which is when they brought augments into the game is what I liked about it, is that you had to strategize around what items am I getting, what champions am I getting, okay, what augment best fits. In the case of the Warwick build, you're going to want anything that has to do with healing, because you're relying on Warwick to carry you until you can level up to 10 and then roll for your gold 3-star legendary that's going to take you through to the end of the game. But in order to do that, you need to make sure that he heals, so you're going to want to grab a healing augment, whichever one you end up getting presented with. And I know I've seen a lot of flack in comments about people not liking this mode because of the randomness involved, but really, this is less random than regular TFT, at least that's how I found it, which is why I haven't played regular TFT. This is the only TFT I played this season, because at least I felt that sense of being able to build a team back and not just hoping for that one augment, that one champion, that one thing that's going to allow me to just dominate the board. Now, let me move into constructive criticism. The game, because of the nature of how they set it up, where each level is set exactly the same, got old pretty fast. Once you figured out the strategy and you knew exactly what was coming next, you could build around it. That did make for some fun strategic decisions early on, but after about the 10th game, it felt like, to me at least, that it got really old. I saw people asking in various forums for an endless mode, which would have been great, but I don't see how they could have done it based on this, except for throwing random 3-star legendary champs at you. However, if you do this all right, you could end up with an entire 3-star legendary board at the end, which is probably never, ever going to lose, so I think even that would become boring pretty quickly. And spoiler alert, we're going to end this match with all 3-star legendary champs, and the fact that I could do this so easily and pretty consistently throughout playing this game kind of shows a weakness in how they set it up, and the fact that there were certain builds like this Warwick build that just allowed you to kind of brainlessly get through the first couple of stages without having to worry about anything. In this one, I'm just maximizing item greed for points by not itemizing anyone but Warwick because I just don't need to do it. This is where I felt they needed some degree of randomness in these boards that we're facing. Whether it's changing up champs, combinations, items, something that is going to allow you to have to make some changes on the fly rather than just mindlessly go forward with a single build. And I've played lots of different builds just to try them out, and there are a bunch that will work if you get lucky. This is the one that works pretty much every time, and you just have to get unlucky for it not to work. And there's a big difference between just getting lucky to win and having to get unlucky to lose. I think they also got a little stuck with wanting to eat their cake and have it too, in that they had concepts of run and concepts of a high score. That didn't really, for me, work all that well together. I had a discussion in comments with someone who had asked, like, I got to this point and then at the end where I kill Morgana and then she spawns the 3-star legendaries and they killed me, did I still win? I'm like, well, it's really, did you get a good score? If you're getting 5 stars, you won. If you're getting 5 prismatic stars, you won even more. If you've put in the time and effort and used a very specific strategy and ended up with 20 or 30 million points, you're in the national leaderboards in terms of score. But that's based on pure luck that you happen to get the specific augments, the specific charms, the specific things that you need to be able to even pull off that strategy. And then on top of it, you have to get a little bit lucky along the way. And the key to that one is just basically pick your poison in terms of what you're going to use to get to the second augment. And then if you get too tanky, take too tanky. Once you get to level 10, you just start rolling for 3-star gold champs. When you can get a 3-star gold champ, you sell it, you sell the duplicate that it gives you, because you're going to get 6,000 points every time you get a 3-star gold champ, because it's going to give you a 2-star along with it. Sell them. That will end up equaling a profit, and you can just keep rinsing and repeating that over and over and over again. And I think I read that there's a 90-minute time limit, so the faster you learn to do it, the higher score you can get. I lack the patience to ever bother with that, so I just didn't. I was not going to spend that kind of time just buying and selling champions. My goal was more to do what I do in this game and just go, I want to get every possible legendary champ up to 3 stars and just win in epic fashion. But since there was that little loophole for score, people, I don't want to say exploited, because it's not an exploit, it's a strategy. It just takes a silly amount of time and a silly amount of patience from my perspective. I just don't have the patience for something like that. And that to me felt a little bit like a flaw, because even though you got a full board of gold 3-star legendaries, you didn't win in terms of getting a super high score that's going to rank in the national archives or whatever they're going to do with their high score. Overall, all of the negative feedback I saw, I hope doesn't deter Riot from trying something like this again. I hope they use something like this, though, as a starting point towards something different where we can see a more roguelite version or roguelike. A lot of people use them interchangeably. They actually mean kind of two different things. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that because I've been playing a ton of roguelite games with my kid on his Switch, and they're a lot of fun. I've also played some on the computer, but I haven't found one that I thought would be worth recording because you can't really teach builds per se. They're just too random, but I would love to see that in TFT because I think they could do it. I think they could randomize what champions, what augments, what things the opposing team you're facing gets, all while you're getting your own assortment of random champs, items, augments, etc. So it becomes much more of a random fest in terms of how you're going, but you're not going to feel the same way you do in like a hyper roll or ranked match when RNG just turns against you and now you're losing points because of it. It's just a single player game where you go, oh well, okay, restart, try again, and better luck next time. And now, as I promised, I'm going to slow this thing down and show you the final board, which is now all 3-star legendary champs, and you can enjoy how the game ends when you have the pretty much impossible board. And I left a lot of items on the side simply because I wanted to maximize item score and make sure I got the prismatic stars. And Morgana will ultimately spit back sort of a mirror image of your board. So when you have an entire board of gold 3-star legendary champs, after it gets through this little slowdown, I don't quite know why it does this, but your team gets met back with you with some items, but yeah, it just crushes through it. And you got a high score with your prismatic stars. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have an absolutely awesome day.